4's Company, Saturday mornings here on 102.5 and 106.3. The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt in studio. Jake Wallman running the show behind the glass. Should be a fun one today. We'll get a college football 12-team bracket for the first time tomorrow. We got some college basketball, the ACC SEC Challenge earlier this week. We'll talk some Titans. Oh, we're going to talk about that. No, we're not. And we've got the Titans taking on the Jaguars tomorrow, the marquee matchup of Week 14 between Tennessee and Jacksonville. We'll talk about that. All of that coming up throughout the show. We're with you till 11 o'clock and kickoff of Iowa State and Arizona State in the Big 12 Championship. Gentlemen, how are we? How was our week?
Honestly, it's been pretty good. Can't go wrong. Obviously, it's been cold, minus the cold weather. It's been great.
I like the cold.
Finally, somebody that I meet in my life that likes cold weather.
Finally.
I prefer cold weather to super hot, but it's been a little too cold for me this week.
I like it. It's fashionable. We'll say.
It snowed on Monday, and I was on my way in here, and people forget how to drive the second the first snowflake hits the ground.
It wasn't even sticking.
No, it was just flurrying.
It was just flurries.
It took me over an hour to get in here because people just forget how to drive as soon as there's some sort of moisture falling from the sky.
Well, that's the curse of 440 coming in here.
Right.
Wow. I always leave an hour early because people forget to drive between the hours of 3 and 6 on 440.
It just makes no sense to me.
I don't understand.
I mean, the more and more people move to Nashville, the more and more the traffic gets worse. It's just, come on, just use your gas pedal.
Nick Frazier says, move out.
Hey, this is my old man, get off my lawn type situation. Yeah.
This is his turf. This is his hood.
I love all y'all that come to Nashville. Just come to visit. All right. They're locals like me that enjoy what I grew up with.
Speaking of which, on Monday, were you guys listening to Jared at all?
Maybe.
I try to listen to Jared sparingly.
There was a caller from California who basically just called in to say, I'm so happy that the Titans and Preds suck because it makes you unhappy, Jared. He's like, I'm a fan of LA sports teams, and it makes me so happy that the Titans and Preds are never going to win a championship because it makes you miserable. That was the entire purpose of his call. I was like, man, that's a really sad life that you must live if you're calling in for that.
Yeah. Jared probably loved it too.
Jared just was like, hold on, I want to stop you right there. Why are you calling? Like, what made you pick up the phone to make this call?
Yeah.
So sad.
I heard somebody else, I didn't hear, but they texted in it'd be a great lawyer. I was like, oh, this just went off the rails. Not sports anymore, but yeah. Jared would be a great lawyer.
He
apparently.
would.
He can argue a case better than almost anybody.
He can argue anything, even if he doesn't believe it.
Hey.
Right.
So if I ever commit a horrible crime, Jared's getting me out of jail.
Jared Stillman is going to Mike Ross from Suits and fake being a lawyer.
Can you imagine the ads he would have? Jared Stillman. I don't know.
What would his catchphrase be? If anybody has ideas.
Oh
my God.
I just think of him at the end of one of those promos.
Oh, we got you. Yeah.
Emailing my doctor now, needs some hearing aids.
We apologize if anybody swerved.
That may have been worse than me singing Western Kentucky's anthem live on air.
Oh, man.
With that, let's get to our headlines. Nick Frazier, what you got for us this morning?
Yeah, my headline obviously happened last night. Boise State winning their conference championship. Would love to see Ashton Jeanty win the Heisman, but it doesn't look likely because apparently Colorado and Travis Hunter, there's a lot more noise coming out of that area. So, but I mean, hats off to Ashton Jeanty. I mean, this guy has been a workhorse all season long. I think he's 132 yards away from passing Barry Sanders' all-time rushing record. So that's pretty cool to see. Obviously, it's not in the regular season per se, but he could easily get it done during the playoff. So, and they have a first-round bye, that is. So, which means he'll be healthy to go,
right,
for the most part. And maybe he does do it. Maybe at least gets 132 if they lose or win.
I love and this might be controversial, but I do love the auto bids and the giving Boise State a chance to get in, even though technically by their ranking they might get an at-large bid anyway. But I love that we're going to get some different teams that are going to get a chance to play and prove that they can hang in there with the quote unquote big dogs and the blue bloods. So it should be fun over the next month. as we get ready for the college football playoff. I was mentioning I'm not going to be on for pretty much the entire college football playoff shows over the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's your last show of the year, isn't it?
I mean, I can
It's
come
true.
on the next 2 weeks. I'll be over at Vandy. We have Saturday games the next 2 weeks. And then I'm going to be out of town the weekend after that. But
man, you're gonna miss Secret Santa here.
Oh yeah, the white elephant thing.
I
Yeah.
got Frazier. I'm just kidding.
Give me an oven mitt.
No, I got you salad hands.
All right.
I know you love to make salad.
Thank you. Yeah, I do like to make salad. Hey, it's pretty good.
I'm disappointed. The next time I'm going to be on will be the day before Vanderbilt women's basketball hosts Kentucky. So
Oh, yay.
we'll talk about that.
Who suffered their first loss the other day?
Oh, we'll get to that. Connor, what is your headline?
Wait, are we talking men or women?
Oh, both.
No. Yeah, that is true. Have you been keeping up with the what's going on in Murfreesboro lately?
I've not.
There's a mass exodus from MTSU football. As we speak right now, another one just entered the portal. So that would make 19 portal entries plus a walk-on. Walk-ons obviously don't count against your scholarships, but I think it's the change of culture that Derek Mason needs. I think this might actually be a good thing. You're cleaning out, starting from scratch. Obviously, results did not show this season, going 3-9, not great. But I think Derek Mason is, last year he kind of just took what he could get. Now he's bringing in his recruits, and I think he's going to start bringing in his guys in the transfer portal. So, kind of to be expected, a mass exodus with results like that. But maybe it's for the better. We'll see. But I just kind of wanted to bring that up. Change is going on in the borough right now.
Yeah, I saw Amari Kelly in the portal. He was the bright spot, but you kind of saw it coming that he's going to go back up to the Power 4 level at some point.
That was to be expected.
I'm excited to see where he goes because I think that dude, based on what I saw this year, he could end up being an NFL type guy.
Yeah. I would take a flyer on him in rounds 5 through 7.
Yeah. And if he goes somewhere else and continues to have success at a higher level, could even improve that stock. My headline, I had a good one and I can't remember it now. So I will go with Jameis Winston on Monday night. That was kind of my backup. What a performance from Jameis Winston. The ultimate Jameis game on Monday night against the Broncos. Threw 6 touchdowns, 2 were to the other team, over 500 yards passing, and then threw a death pick at the very end as well. And of course, we got the great Jameis soundbite as well. I should have clipped this before, but asking the Lord to deliver him from pick sixes is just a crazy thing to say. Lord, please deliver me from pick sixes.
How can one not love that man, though?
I would love for him to come here next year. It won't happen. He's going to get a bigger deal to go be a starting quarterback somewhere. I think him and Darnold are going to be the free agent quarterbacks that somebody signs as a bridge guy. Yeah. But, man, I love me some Jameis Winston. Just the ultimate character. And it was funny because I was paying a lot of attention in one of my fantasy leagues. One of my friends, he had the Broncos defense and was down by 2.1 at the end. And the pick just barely didn't get him enough. He lost by 0.1. But Jameis Winston throwing 2 pick sixes got him a chance in that one. Crazy. Jameis Winston, national treasure, and maybe the ultimate Jameis Winston game on Monday Night Football. Jake Wallman, wrap us up.
I promise I'll be a lot quieter this time. I was going to do ACC, SEC men's challenge, the challenge, but since we're going to talk about that, my headline is, this is from Front Office Sports. Tulsa football players say fired coach promised NIL cash that never materialized. I don't know if you guys saw this.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, this is going to happen a lot.
This quote is from their quarterback, Cooper Lagasse. They were using this money as leverage, and it just kept getting pushed back, and now the season's over, and no one ever got anything. Wow.
We saw it with UNLV.
Yeah,
that's where my head went.
The promises, and their backup quarterback ended up being great this year, and obviously they made it to the Mountain West Championship game, lost last night, but it's going to happen in more places where these NIL promises don't end up actually living up to what they said, because there's no rules. Like, there's no guidelines of how all of this is supposed to work, and you can make these promises and not follow through, and the players will have no choice but to just go somewhere else.
Yeah. Welcome to the new era of college football.
And it's just easy to replace people.
There
Right.
was a alert I got last night that absolutely blew my mind. Jalen Daniels over at Kansas, he's coming back.
Right.
But it was
Agreed
phrased
to a new deal.
agreed to a new deal. I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it was like Jalen Daniels agrees to a new deal to return to Kansas for his final year. I'm
What
like, that is
going on?
crazy.
I think we're going to see that type of wording as we go along in this. Just because it's going to get a lot more and more like,
We are literally in free agency at this point.
Yeah, it is crazy how quick it has turned basically into professional sports.
It's wild.
For me, it's going to look at the bowl games, because if you have too many people opting out going to the transfer portal, you're going to see a lot more. And this is when COVID happened. They had a lot more 5-win teams making bowl games. I think that's what happened, I believe, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah. I mean, if they don't fill all the slots, they have to go to 5-win teams.
Right. So, like, I think you're going to see more of that with this transfer portal continuing.
I mean, I just think if you're at a big name school and you don't make the playoff, like, look at the Ole Misses and LSUs who aren't going to be in the playoff this year. I bet half of their roster opts out.
Yep.
There's no point.
Yeah.
I got a quick question for you guys.
We have a quick answer. Hopefully.
With, you see opt-outs with, the 12-team playoff the next couple years and the 16-team playoff coming in 2026, I believe.
They're going to 14 first, I think.
Are they going to 14?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't
They're
know.
going to 16?
They're going to 14.
The 12-team playoff's only going to last like 2 years.
It's going to get to 16
Oh.
eventually, but they're going to 14 in 2026.
Which
Get it
I
to
think is
32. Just get it there already.
I think it's silly that they're changing so soon.
Let's
but-
go 64.
Yeah, Mike Leach.
But they didn't ask me. Anyways, how often do you think we'll see opt-outs, especially for teams that make the playoff, but they have like a lot of high-profile guys that could go in the top 10, top 15.
I think playoff teams, you're not going to have any opt-outs. I think guys want to chase a national championship. But if you are at a high-level school where there's a lot of NFL prospects and you don't make the playoff, what's the point of going and playing in the ReliaQuest Bowl?
Unless your name is Jackson Smith and Jigba,
Yeah.
Right.
who completely opted out of the national championship.
Yeah. I mean, well,
Or no, it was
the semifinal.
it was semifinal.
Yeah. But that game, it came down to a shanked field goal at the end. Who knows whether that would have been the difference between Ohio State winning and Georgia winning. It's a good question. Speaking of questions, Jake Wallman, you have our question of the day.
Last time I went non-sports, so this time I'm going to go with a sports related. If you could have the talents and career of one athlete, who would it be?
Oh,
It's a good question.
that's a great one. Career?
Yeah.
Like if I take on I don't know, I'll throw one out there. Can we all just ban Michael Jordan, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
ban Michael Jordan.
Are we saying that you're given the talents and then you can do what you want with those talents, or are you having the exact same career as those players?
That's an even better question.
Well, that's I think they're easy answers if you're just saying like carbon copy, take it, or are you saying like I want the God-given ability of
I think we can
X player?
forge our own path.
Okay,
here.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you know what?
Either one.
We're going to leave it up to interpretation. And if you have an answer out there, you can text us or call us. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, and our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. That's a good question. We will give our answers coming up at the top of the 10 o'clock hour. But when we come back, ACC SEC Challenge this week.
I don't want to talk about this.
We have some fun with Connor Newt coming up next here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. It's the holiday season here at 102.5 The Game. Got the Christmas music going. 4's Company on this Saturday morning. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman with you. Lots to get to on the show today. Again, our question of the day is, if you could have the talent and or career of one athlete, who would it be? We've already got a couple answers on our text line, and we'd love to hear from you. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Going to talk some basketball here. It was the ACC SEC Challenge this week on both the men's and women's side, and the SEC dominated. 24-8 was the final tally across men's and women's. 14-2 on the men's side, 10-6 on the women's side. Connor, I have some trivia for you.
Stop.
So there was only one team that had their men's and women's team lose this week in the ACC SEC Challenge.
I already know.
Can you name the school?
It's the team in blue. We all know.
Penn State? Wait, what? Who?
No, but Penn State did just beat Purdue.
I did see that.
Connor, I got another question for you.
No, I do not want to hear from you, especially. Leave me alone.
You and Parker Kelly, friend of the show, had an interesting conversation. It was about a week ago. Tennessee moved up to 3 in the basketball rankings, and
My statement still stands.
You said that they would not. It actually does.
It was correct. It's still correct.
Because they will not be at 3 much longer.
Listen, we can't all play Syracuse at home, all right?
I mean, hey, listen, I am not the one to attack here, as I did not make the ACC SEC Challenge schedule.
I'm just saying. Clemson's a good team. Clemson's going to be a tournament team.
They're
good.
They're a perennial tournament team.
They're going to make it.
Brad Brownell, he does a good job over there.
Here's the thing. I'm not upset. I'm not mad at Mark Pope at all about this loss. I don't think it's his fault. When you have a bad shooting night and you don't make the shots you usually make, you're going to lose. That's just how basketball works. So hopefully this loss against Clemson pisses them off tonight. They're in Seattle tonight against Gonzaga, neutral site game. Gonzaga is, I think, 4.5 point favorites. They're kind of heavily favored, but I don't doubt Mark Pope. Simple as that.
Mark Pope versus Mark Few.
I was told to cope with Pope.
Cope with Pope.
Whereas Calipari is struggling against a 3-win Miami team and beats them by 3.
I'm very upset that I didn't realize that was going on. We were literally walking distance from the Watsco Center. I could have gone over there. I'm sure tickets weren't that expensive.
You should have gone in and just say, "Hey, Connor Newt says screw you," and flip him a bird.
That is what I should have done.
Yeah,
I should have totally done that.
He would have totally known who I was.
Exactly. He listens to the show.
Yeah, he loves us.
Yeah. I was down in Coral Gables. Vandy Woman got the win, 88-70 over Miami and the Cavender Twins on Wednesday night. Camille Pierre, 28-13. If you're not paying attention, Camille Pierre, Michaela Blakes might be one of the best duos in the SEC. They're that good. They're that good.
They're that good.
They put up 53 between the two of them.
I did find myself the other day just sitting here watching women's SEC ACC Challenge. Texas and Notre Dame was a great game.
Yep.
Overtime.
South Carolina Duke.
Not as great.
LSU Stanford went to overtime.
Yeah.
Auburn Duke on the men's side. That was a pretty good game.
That was a good game. That one makes me feel better too, because there was an SEC team that beat Duke and it was not Auburn. So I would like to substitute that win for the loss for Clemson. The SEC ACC on the men's side, there's only one loss, and it's Auburn.
Well, it is interesting that the 2 losses the SEC had were both by top 5 teams. And I know Duke is a top 10 team, but like Auburn and Kentucky were both top 5 in the rankings, and they were the only 2 that lost.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt went into Blacksburg and beat the Hokies, who Virginia Tech men's basketball may be the worst Power 4 team in the entire country. They are.
Is it that bad?
Oh, they're awful.
I don't keep up with Virginia Tech men's basketball.
Yeah, they're terrible. And 2 former Hokies on Mark Byington's squad at Vandy, MJ Collins and Tyler Nickel. They went in there, and I think 80-64 was the final. Hey, Vandy's turned it around. They've already got 8 wins. They had 9 all of last year. So
yeah,
good start for him.
I'm not trying to be a downer, but I mean, I'll believe Vanderbilt when I see them play
Yeah.
SEC play.
Right. Yeah. They play TCU tomorrow. So that I don't think TCU's all that great either, but they're playing power conference teams and playing decently. So we will see when SEC play rolls around. We got about a month to go until we get into SEC play. But good showing for the SEC on both the men's and women's side. Again, it was 14-2 on the men's side. Clemson and Duke, the only ACC teams to win.
In these situations, do you find yourself pulling for teams in the conference that you don't normally pull for? Because
No.
I don't.
No.
I don't.
Really?
I wasn't pulling for Tennessee. I wasn't pulling for Auburn. I wasn't pulling for who else do I hate in the SEC?
Everybody.
Everybody. Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna pull for my Bulldogs. We're actually good at basketball.
Yeah, you are.
I'll you know what?
Come on, man.
I'll throw
not
some.
Chris Hubbard.
I'll throw some love towards
come
the
on, man.
Bulldogs.
Thank you.
I think
What is that dude's name?
It's drawing a blank. Hang on, I'll look it up. Continue, Jake,
Hubbard.
I
please.
think you should root for your conference in these challenge type things because that's going to help your resume come March. If
Chris Jans. That's
Chris
yeah,
Jans.
Chris Jans.
The dentist.
yes, yeah, John Rothstein.
Bingo.
Speaking of
Love John
dentistry,
Rothstein.
Kentucky plays Colgate
Oh,
toothpaste.
hey, Colgate's a good team.
Yeah, Tennessee knows all about
Yeah,
Colgate.
you
They're a
do.
big 3-point team too.
Yeah, they are.
They're one of those 14, 15 seed teams that are dangerous because they could put up like 18 or 19 threes if
They're the
if
game.
they get hot.
They're the game in between Gonzaga, which is today, and Louisville, which is
Ooh.
in a couple weeks. And that's gonna be-
Louisville's a really. I mean, they're going to be better. this
Yeah.
year.
that's gonna be fun. Pat Kelsey's a good coach.
It's hard to be worse for Louisville, right? They
Yeah,
they were
yeah, it's
awful
true.
last year.
Kenny Payne.
Yeah, that was really bad.
Kentucky legend.
One question, or you were talking about like rooting for your conference and stuff in these SEC, these conference type challenges. I don't believe in conference loyalty,
I don't either.
and this will be a big topic with me when we get into like bowl games and stuff here in the next couple weeks. I could care less if the SEC. How many teams they get in the bowls this year? 10,
Around that.
No, more than 13.
13. They could
Yeah.
go 1-12, and if Tennessee's the only win, I could care less.
No, and I agree with that.
Bingo.
I'm saying in season for basketball, the SEC beating ACC teams and getting quality wins on their resume is only going to help your team when they play them later.
Yeah.
Like that's going to help the SEC have more quad one teams that will help, like Tennessee winning over Syracuse instead of losing and being possibly the number one team in the country on Monday. That helps Kentucky when they play Tennessee. If they beat them, that's now a better win.
Yeah. That's true.
I think in in non-conference, I think you root for your conference to do as well as possible because then if you beat them, that's a better win.
I don't know. I just can't bring myself to cheering for Tennessee, of course. I don't like Auburn this year. I don't like Bruce Pearl, so I can't cheer for Auburn. Not a big Nate Oates guy, so
I get it. As soon as conference play rolls around, you're rooting against all of them.
yeah,
But look at Indiana football this year.
I can't root for Indiana.
Don't you think Indiana football wishes that Michigan and Washington had been better?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Would've
I'm
had a
not
higher
saying-
seed.
I'm not saying you have to root for them. I'm saying that there's a mutual benefit to teams that you play being better and you being better for the teams that you play.
Yeah,
It's fair.
it's a fair argument.
Like to his point about bowl games for the SEC, like if it were me, I do want SEC teams being good in those games. Due to the fact of the matter, if I'm a Mississippi State fan, it just shows that we're really, really bad against really good teams.
Right.
Like-
And that makes sense too.
Like I don't want to be rooting against SEC schools minus, Ole Miss, but like that's you're just gonna have to understand that, if you don't want to cheer for teams in your conference, give a good reasoning for it. That's just all I'm saying. Because my reasoning is I want to make sure that conference is loaded. Because if they're loaded, then you know that your team is really, really bad. That's kind of how I look at it.
Bottom line from this challenge, what I've gathered,
Tennessee's not good. Okay, I get
No.
that. I get that. Okay.
SEC is the best basketball conference from top to bottom.
Yep.
There's no
On
doubt in my
men's
mind.
and women's side.
Yes, both sides.
I think the Big Ten in the women's side has an argument there because they've got a lot of good teams over
They
there.
do.
But I agree. The SEC men's, at least this year, is head and shoulders above everybody else. Like they might get 11 teams into the tournament,
11 of 16.
which is crazy.
That's insane.
yeah. The SEC on the men's side is ridiculous this year. The women's side is really good. It's a little bit more, not quite as deep as previous years. Like the bottom 5 in the SEC on the women's side are not very good.
Yeah.
But the top 11 could all be tournament teams. So lots of good SEC basketball being played. We've finished up maybe the best 2-week run of the regular season in college basketball with Feast Week and then the ACC SEC Challenge. But conference plays right around the corner. So
this is where it gets fun.
We've got a lot to look forward to. Should be fun. That'll do it for our college basketball talk today. We're going to talk a lot of college football in the second hour.
That wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I just wanted to mess with you about the only SEC
That's
team
all right.
losing both their matchups was
That's all right.
Kentucky.
I'll
Can I
come back.
just leave our listeners with a sour taste in their mouth? before we
Yeah,
get
that'd
rid
be
of this?
great. That's what we want.
Vols fans, for basketball, your team's not good yet. They're not. I'm sorry. You're playing who?
Look at his face.
What do we got? What else do we got to prove? You know,
Play
never mind.
someone.
Never mind.
No, play good teams.
And we will.
Well, we're going to see it.
Nick, I'm planning on going after Tennessee when we talk football later. So I
He
was
said, play good teams.
Listen, I'm looking at resumes here. I mean, come on. Gardner Webb, Louisville, Montana, Austin P. I know these are warm-up games. Cupcake, Virginia.
Baylor looks like a worse win now.
UT Martin, Syracuse 4-3. I mean, come on. I could go out there and drop 20 points.
I'm glad he's the one saying it and not me for once.
I mean, do I think Tennessee is the best team in the country?
No.
Like when all things are said and done, no. But
This is
right
unnecessary.
right now, Tennessee deserves to be the number 1 team in the country based on the results that have happened.
This is unnecessary.
I just took 15 minutes of crap. You can get yours now.
No, I see what you're saying, Nick. Like, do I think that Tennessee is just going to stay at number 1 all year long and go win a national championship? No. But if you look at the current state of the top 10, like Kansas and Auburn both lost, Kentucky lost, like Tennessee deserves to be number 1 as of right now.
Right.
Don't listen to him. I'm proud of you.
I just like my thing with Tennessee sports fans, especially Vols fans in specific, they look at college football. Prime example: Josh Heupel cannot get over the hump. This is him in the
we'll
playoff.
see.
Now, hang
We'll
on.
see.
This is him in the playoff. Like he's got to get over the first round hump, and if he does, then good for them. They finally made it to the playoff. Had to expand it, but they're in it. The second one, you can look at basketball. Just
Rick Barnes can't get over the hump.
you can't get over the hump. All right,
I
do great in the regular season, but yet you can't get over the hump when it comes to playoffs.
I
I'm
think
just saying.
I think when it comes to Rick Barnes and Tennessee fans, making the Elite Eight is what they wanted him. They wanted to see him pass the Sweet 16.
Okay, then you want to pass the Elite Eight. You
Now,
got to set
this
new-
year, now you want to pass the Elite Eight to get to the Final Four.
This is the greatest segment in the history of this show.
I'm just listen. Nothing against Jake Wallman, Vols fans. I got a lot of friends that are Vols fans. You guys are great. You're great. The atmosphere is fun to go to. But some of the comments that Vols fans make, it's just not it. Robbie Stanley, you're a great guy. I love you. I don't know what your stance is on this stuff, but come on, man.
You want my jersey?
I'm good. I'm good.
Don't worry, Nick. I'm going after Vols fans for some of the stuff they've been saying about the football team later on too.
And I love Josh Heupel. Don't get me wrong. Love the guy.
And I think they are perfectly deserving of being in the playoff.
Yes.
This is a witch hunt.
I don't want to spoil the segment later. We're going to talk college football in the second hour.
I just
We're
had
gonna-
to get that off my chest.
We're going to
Sorry.
talk Titans coming up next because
Yay.
the Titans are so good. And again, I mentioned marquee matchup tomorrow. All eyes are going to be on Nissan Stadium. Titans and Jaguars. Standalone game? Should it be? I don't know. We'll talk about it next here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Tune in to 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville today for MTSU men's basketball. The Blue Raiders taking on Belmont. 2:30 tip-off, and the pregame begins at 2 o'clock. Coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. 4's Company here on this Saturday morning. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman with you. Going to talk a little bit of Titans here. Just a couple of minutes on the two-tone blue. I have one question for all of you. And Nick Frazier, you have publicly said you are out on Will Levis.
I am.
I want to know, after a month now of solid performances from Will Levis, are we in on him being the quarterback in 2025? I'm not asking, do you think he is the franchise quarterback, but do you think Will Levis should be the starting quarterback heading into next season?
Financially, yes. Financially, yes. Like, they have no other option. I mean, their other option is to go after Jameis Winston or Sam Darnold, and we were talking candidly.
Or draft a guy.
Yeah, but you don't want to waste. Like, listen, if you're the Titans and you can waste a seventh round pick on a quarterback as a flyer, sure, do that. Don't go waste a top 32 pick on a quarterback. That's just not where you need to go with that. I mean, so as for your comment about Will Levis, yeah, he probably should be the quarterback next season because that's all they got right now.
But you're still out on him being the guy.
100%.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think he 100% should be the starting quarterback next year. Like you said, the options in free agency, you're either going to overpay for somebody who is definitely not a franchise quarterback in Sam Darnold or Jameis Winston or Daniel Jones or whoever it ends up being. And in the draft, the Titans aren't going to pick in the top 5 anymore. They've already got 3 wins. They play the Jaguars twice with Mac Jones starting at quarterback. They've got the Bengals at home who can't stop a runny nose on defense. You've already beaten the Colts. You played the Colts who aren't very good. They did beat you. And you've already beaten the Texans. You could easily win 3 of your final 5 games. 2 against the Jags, you win 1 of the other 3. 6 wins, you're not picking in the top 5. You're probably 10, 11, 12. Do I want a rookie Cam Ward or Jalen Milroe, or give Will Levis one more year in a system after he started to show growth? I think it's got to be Levis.
I've said this multiple times on this show, on other shows. There is not a quarterback in this draft that I can look at and be like, that's the guy. It's just not a deep class. And I think over the past month, Will Levis has shown you that he can bounce back from rock bottom and pull himself back up and have solid performances. I'm not saying he's the franchise guy. I'm not saying we got to put all our chips in the middle on him, but I think he's earned himself another year in this system. And I think if you were to draft pieces around him, like let's say a Luther Burden is
right.
there.
That's exactly who I was going to say.
A Luther Burden, a guy that he can help develop and that can help develop him, a young guy he can look out for. If we were to do that, I think you would see more results. And maybe I'll start to come around again on maybe he's the franchise guy, but I'm not there right now. I don't think any of us at this table are there right now. But I do think he's earned himself another year.
I think it's realistic in this offseason. You've got, let's say you have, the 10th pick, the 42nd pick, and they've got $75 million in cap space. I think it's realistic on offense that you could get yourself a legit running mate for Calvin Ridley at wide receiver, and you could run out a top 3 of Ridley, Luther Burden, or whoever it is, and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine next year if you extend him. You could solve right tackle, whether that's in the second round or in free agency. Find somebody who can play right tackle.
Nice T enunciation.
Right tackle.
There you go.
And find a tight end. I think if you can solve those 3 problems, that is much more productive for this team to give Will Levis a chance to succeed rather than drafting Cam Ward.
I'll tell you who is gone. Traylon Burks.
Yeah, he better
gone.
I thought you were going somewhere else.
Hey, bye.
That's our thing.
Oh man,
Bah.
I will get back to like your initial point about Will Levis being quarterback next season. I would put a lot of emphasis on the last couple of games for the Titans' sake. When you go up against Jacksonville twice, Houston, if they can seem to figure things out for them because they're just like not able to score points on a regular basis now when they were just scoring points like galore at the beginning of the season. Then you got a Bengals team who cannot play defense to save their life. They're averaging 30-something odd points on offense.
Yeah.
So like if Will Levis can have really good games against all those teams, I would, in my opinion, take it with a grain of salt because it's the end of the season. A lot of guys are injured. You're not going to get the best quality of games out of the teams you're playing because I think Indianapolis is kind of in the hunt for the most part. Jacksonville's definitely not in the hunt.
Bengals have kind of fallen out of it too. Like you're not playing anybody outside of Houston who's playing for anything, and Houston will likely have locked up the division by week 18 when you play them.
Right.
So you might see the B squad for them in that final week.
Right. And my thing is with Titans fans in general, just go in with an open mind about Will Levis these last couple of weeks, because there's going to be people out there that is just hypothetically, if Will Levis lights up the sky with, some of the great deep balls he's been throwing the last couple of weeks and continues to do that the rest of the season, people are going to be like, this is it. This is our guy. Where has he been all year long? And people aren't going to see the in-depth of, well, the teams he's going up against are not that great right now, man.
But the good news is you don't have to extend him after this year. You have to make absolutely no commitment to him other than saying, you're going to be our quarterback for one more year.
You are going to be a quarterback on this team.
You will not get cut. Like, that's basically the only commitment the Titans have to make to him. And if you continue to build around him, yes, we did talk about it like at the beginning of the year. The worst thing that could happen is you don't know about Will Levis. But when there's really no other replacement and Will Levis is showing growth, I think it's worth it to give him another chance. And then next year, it has to be make or break. If you don't know after next year, then he's done.
My issue, too, is you named him a captain this year. You go into next season, and he's just your plug-and-play type quarterback and probably won't re-sign him for the most part. What do you do about the captaincy? You strip it from him at the end of the season? And
I think you got to keep it. He's the quarterback.
Yeah, that I've never – like, you always name the quarterback a captain.
Yeah, but I feel like those young guns, like prime example, Caleb Williams, I get it. He's going to be a solid quarterback in this league. I just feel like the NFL currently, it's a quarterback-driven league. They're forcing these young quarterbacks into positions of being a leader when they don't know how to be a leader in the NFL yet. That's my issue. You're forcing all these young quarterbacks to be leaders, but yet your true leaders are the ones that have been there 4 to 5, 7 years. Maybe they're defensive guys. Maybe they're, wide receivers. Those are your captains, not your rookie quarterback.
Right. Yeah. Like Jeffrey Simmons, it probably took him 3 or 4 years to become a true leader on this team because Jarrell Casey was there and Kevin Byard.
There.
No, I mean, he's getting there.
Walter Payton, Man of the Year.
He's learning.
Yeah.
It's funny that you guys bring this up because Brian Callahan had an interesting quote from his Wednesday press conference. I can't remember what the question was, or it was a question about Will Levis's development. And he responded with, he didn't really quite know if guys in this league were getting enough time to develop before they're being asked to take on not necessarily a starting role, but a role that contributes. And I think he has something there. Because I think we put a lot on guys, coaches put a lot on guys like a Will Levis that they may not quite be ready to take on a responsibility of a starter.
Yeah. And we've seen Will Levis, his growth. I think so many people just gave up on him after those first 3 weeks, but I said it last week. If he started the season with these 4 weeks instead of the 4 he did, I think Titans fans would be, starting to plan the parade for Will Levis bringing a Super Bowl to Nashville. He's been really good the last 4 weeks, and I think tomorrow is going to be his best game of the year. I'm going to bold prediction, not as much about Will Levis, but it kind of goes with it. Calvin Ridley revenge game tomorrow. 150 yards, 2 touchdowns for Calvin Ridley.
Woo.
Against his former team. I think he's going to light up the Jaguars tomorrow.
I like this. I like Jake Lyman saying
we'll
that.
Go bold. We'll go bold.
Because I do have Calvin Ridley on a fantasy team. So thanks, Jake.
I do too. Titans and Jaguars at noon tomorrow. Titans looking for their 4th win of the season, taking on a Jags team that is without Trevor Lawrence. Big game for Will Levis. I think this is the type of game where if you want to prove that you can be the guy, you got to dominate. You got to go dominate a bad Jaguars team and a bad Jaguars secondary. So we'll see if he can get it done. We're going to talk a lot of college football in the second hour, but before we wrap up hour number one, Newt's Notes coming up next. You're on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Say his name and he appears. I believe in
Connor Newt.
I believe in
Newt's Notes.
'cause we love him in London and Paris and Tokyo, America, Scotland.
Wrapping up
and
hour
Canada,
number one here on
and
4's Company.
Mexico.
It's time for Newt's Notes. This might be the first time that I have no idea what you're talking about. So
Okay.
we're gonna
Well,
let
I'm-
Connor just take it over.
I'm kind of on one today, guys. So last night I was talking to I don't know how to describe this. A person of mine, and I was informed. We were talking about. You guys know I'm a huge wrestling guy, of course. She was telling me how wrestling is for children. Why do you support that? Why do you watch that? I am on one because look at the worldwide impact that wrestling. that open I change it up every week. Always wrestling. Always. But my main issue is, who are you to tell me what I can and can't like? I mean, there are millions and millions and millions of people around the world that love professional wrestling just as much as I do. That starts careers. Look at The Rock. The Rock would not be the global superstar he is today if he didn't start in the late 90s as Rocky Maivia.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for wrestling.
Yeah.
My grandparents been on a blind date.
I was about to go to you because, I mean, you appreciate it from a perspective none of us have.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But then she proceeds to tell me, like, I'm watching Hallmark right now. Okay, like, if wrestling's fake, what are you watching Hallmark for? That's the dumbest argument I hear is people will tell me, well, it's fake. It's scripted. I'm like, who cares? It's enjoyable. Thank you. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Thank you, Rock. But I mean, it's just, you'll have people text in. We had one time that said, we've known it's fake since the 90s. We know. That's the whole point. That's why it's enjoyable. It's not a sport. I mean, they have to be in athletic shape and like they have builds like no other, but it's not a true sport. It's just, it frustrates me so much that people are so insensitive and think that they can dictate what people watch and don't watch and enjoy. Wrestling's a part of my life. I mean, I listen every week now to Chase and Joe just to hear what they say. They had wrestlers on every week now. And hopefully we can get something in the works there because I'd love to be a part of that. But it's just, I don't know. It's I know you guys probably won't have much commentary on this. I just had to get that off my chest. It's just,
I mean, it's definitely a part of American culture. A lot of people just forget that. I mean, you look at the Von Erichs, who had their own promotion for the longest time. I mean, you look at Jerry Jarrett down here in
Jeff Jarrett.
Well, his dad, Jerry Jarrett. Yeah. My grandfather wrestled in his promotion here in Nashville. But like, just a bunch of different promoters. I mean, back in the day, it was territories, and it was regional. It was a Saturday morning event. It was pre-taped. Like, I remember my mom and my uncles would talk about how they'd get up Saturday morning and watch wrestling. Like that was kind of the cartoons of back in the 70s and 80s up into the 90s. And then it became primetime television, like Monday Night Raw and stuff like that. Once all the mergers and stuff happened.
It's a multimedia thing too.
Yeah.
Watch College Game Day. They've had 2 wrestlers on this year. I mean, Pat McAfee has them on. And Pat McAfee's a commentator for Monday Night Raw. Yeah. He's going back in January. I'm excited when they go to Netflix.
I'm not trying to shameless plug Chase McJoe, but Kofi Kingston mentioned in that his conversation, you could have been a fan back in the 90s and like your kids are now watching it. And now it's got you watching because you were a fan of Dusty Rhodes. And now Cody Rhodes is really good. So you're following wrestling again. Like wrestling comes and goes. It's a part of your identity. It's a part of your skin. You just enjoy it.
That's one of the bonds me and my dad have. Cause Dad, of course, grew up in the 80s and 90s and watched, Ric Flair, Bret the Hitman Hart, all those guys, Dusty Rhodes. Now my generation, Cowboy Bob Orton. Now my generation, we get Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, and he had The Rock. I have The Rock now as a different Rock, but still The Rock.
Rock's family tree all up in the ring. Yeah,
it's gonna carry on for generations and generations and generations. And it comes and goes in big waves. Right now, it's in one of the hottest waves it's ever been in, selling like hotcakes. So, I mean, you can tell me it's for children and it's fake and all that, but the numbers speak for themselves.
I can kind of speak to it to a sense of my dad was a big wrestling fan when he was growing up. And so like he watched like WCW and that sort of thing, WWF before that changed.
Yeah.
And it wore off on my brother more than it wore off on me, more or less. And I remember we would tease my brother because we would tell him, like, hey, it's fake. It's not what you think it is. And he would just get so angry because he would be adamant. Like, it's not fake. I know it's not fake, but it was still this thing that like we would kind of watch together, my dad, my brother, and I. And like you guys said, it just kind of came like this bonding experience that we had on Monday nights or on Friday nights or Tuesday nights or whatever. So, you can't really bug people for what they like if you don't like the same thing.
I mean, I'm not one of those that gets super offended when you say it's fake. I know it's fake. You can just watch one episode and.
But he was a lot younger.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I'm sure I was the same way. It's not. It's real. It's real to me.
Yeah,
it's still real to me in a sense that you fall in love with these characters and these personas they take on, that it becomes part of your life. Me and Christian Skeleton, our friend of the show. You could come in on a tonight. We're working the Preds. It's going to be all wrestling tonight. I can tell you right now, Robbie Stanley is going to get so annoyed with us because it's going to be all quotes. And I apologize in advance, Robbie, but that's just my rant for the day. I me, I don't like to come on here and just tear things down. I'm a very positive person. I love what I love, but for someone to tell someone else that you can't support this, I mean, I'll tell you this right now. It starts. I was bullied in middle school very badly. I
stand with you.
Yeah,
Newt. I stand with you, Newt.
Always know this, Newt. Don't value the opinions of others that you won't value in the future.
And I'm learning that.
Yeah.
This job has taught me a lot about that. I come on here every week and I say what I say. I'm very unapologetic for what I say for the most part, unless I say something just completely out of pocket, which is bound to happen occasionally.
We haven't had one yet.
Not yet. Well, sort of. I said I have a special person, which they will be dropped.
Oh, I was going to say, does this end things for you?
Oh, yeah. I'm back and better than ever.
I love it.
Texter says wrestling is a man's soap opera, which
it kind of is. Yeah,
it is.
And that's what I was going to say is, like, I feel like if you do love wrestling, it's because you loved it as a child.
Yeah.
Like for me, my family never watched it. And like, I've tried to watch it as like a teenager and like, I've had it on. I'm like, man, this is stupid.
Yeah.
But like, that's just because I wasn't into it as a kid. But it's no different than there are plenty of grown men out there who love Star Wars. And
I love
like,
Star Wars.
It's like, it's something that you enjoy watching. Yes, it is fake and people might not understand it, but you're allowed to
Everything
enjoy.
is fake. The government's lying to you. There it is.
We could go a lot of places with that.
You're allowed to enjoy what you enjoy, and no one should be able to tell you that you're not. So, Connor, we stand with you.
Yes, justice for Newt.
Love it. The ones.
They're the
tribal
ones.
chief.
Yeah,
There we go.
acknowledge
Perfect.
The tribal chief.
Great Newt's notes, as always, Connor. We will take a quick break. We'll be back to start up hour number 2. We're going to answer our question of the day. If you could take the talent and career of any athlete, who would it be? We've got some answers on the text line. You can chime in as well. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Derek Mason downtown at JBJ's Nashville this Sunday for the pregame show from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. They'll break down the Titans' Week 14 matchup against the Jaguars and give you the latest updates before the game. The pregame show is presented by Perman Tractor and Equipment, Sundeck Nashville, Sloan's Motorcycle ATV, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. We'll be back after this to start up hour number 2 here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. 4's Company, 1025, 1063, The Game, hour number 2 here on this Saturday. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman with you until 11 a.m. when we kick off a great day full of college football championship games. Iowa State, Arizona State coming up at 11 a.m. And plenty more throughout the day. Georgia, Texas, Oregon, Penn State, SMU, Clemson. We're going to talk plenty of college football here in the second hour. But first, let's answer our question of the day. Jake Wallman was in charge today, and he wants to know what athlete, if you could take their talent, take their career, would you? And you can answer on our text or phone line, 615-737-1025. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's get some answers around the room here. Nick Frazier, who you got?
I mean, baseball comes to mind. I mean, it's either Albert Pujols or King Griffey Jr. There's just something
the
about
kid is
that
good.
swing. I'm not a lefty, but watching his swing, it's just so pure. It's fluid. I just, yeah, I'm gonna go with Albert. I know I just kind of flipped it, but I take it back. I'm going Griffey.
Ken Griffey Jr. is a good one. That one is, in terms of baseball players, like, I think he has to be up there.
Yeah.
Maybe Mike Trout would be another good one.
Oh, yeah. As long as he doesn't have the back injury.
You just can't get into the playoffs, though.
Yeah.
Or stay healthy.
He went to the WBC, and everybody thought this was something he would win.
Right.
And
the Shohei versus Trout battle. That was awesome.
I think it was a slider that he finished him on. And I was like,
It was like a 9-pitch at bat, too.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Can't wait for that to be back. But yeah,
I know.
I'm going Griffey.
Connor?
I've got two in my head, but I'm gonna go this way. I'm gonna go Stephen Curry.
Good one.
I as a kid, growing up, we had the Cavs and Warriors kind of always in the finals. So we always watched Curry versus LeBron, and the 2016 series always comes to mind for me with, Kyrie hitting Game 7 shot. But the reason I picked Steph Curry is every time I think of him, I think of that game in Oklahoma City where he just nails one from half court. I don't know. I see in the text line. Robbie Stanley says he would be caught in it, as he says. So,
I love it. That's a good one. He stole mine.
Steph Curry?
No, Connor Newt.
Oh, I was a menace on the basketball court.
I mean, you got the jersey on.
I was a stretch 4.
Wearing the 1-5.
Wearing 1-5. And then baseball, I played second base because I had an arm, but I wasn't strong enough to get it from the outfield to home plate. So Dad was my coach. He put me in at second base, and I always played there. I was kind of a lockdown.
Gold glove.
Grounder comes my way. It's not going anywhere else.
I love it. Well, Robbie stole mine. I am going to go with Megatron, Calvin Johnson.
Ooh. I saw a Family Guy edit of him the other day.
Really?
It was
I saw the same one.
It was it was Peter naming Meg, and it shows her birth certificate. It says Meg Griffin, and he takes a Sharpie and writes TRON.
Oh.
He goes, robots in the sky. It's so good.
Calvin Johnson, like, in terms of dominant athletes where they could just do whatever they want, he is probably, of my childhood, he was the one where it's just like you could put 2 or 3 guys on him and it did not matter. He was going to make a play.
I had Megatron, but I was a little young for him. I was in like 5th, 6th grade when he retired, but it was him and Jordy Nelson for me.
Jordy.
Yeah. Oh, Jordy.
Yeah. I'll go Megatron. Shorter career, didn't win championships, kind of on bad teams, but man, just to have the abilities, like we were asking earlier, like, do you get the exact career? Or do you just get their talent and you can have free will from there on?
Yeah.
Either way, just being able to do that to another grown man and like go up and just say, I don't care if you put 3 guys on me. I am going to go up and grab this ball. Like that. That is
incredible.
Ridiculous what he was able to do. Jake Wallman, you asked the question. What's your answer?
I've been thinking about this since I asked the question, and I'm probably going to go with Chris Johnson.
Yeah.
He was in my mind too.
I mean, just like the way he could get out in space, and I mean, he didn't really need all that room to begin with. But like, you just give him just a little room and just boom, he's gone. I mean, so good.
CJ is one of the most electric players of all time.
Yes.
I think
But-
of the Gus Johnson quote.
Got getting away from the cop
Yeah,
speed.
he does.
He bounced off tackles. Like, it was just fun to watch. It was like watching a Madden video game.
Yeah.
The one against the Jaguars where he lowers the shoulder, knocks the guy over, and then just immediately 0 to 60, he's gone is
Yeah. One of the most fun players on Madden. I think you just said that.
yeah, he's
Oh.
insane. Love me some Chris Johnson. We got some answers on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Augie in Franklin says Bo Jackson. That's a good one. I think you could go with any of the two sport athletes.
Yeah, I was
like
gonna
Bo
say.
Jackson, Deion Sanders.
Are you
Definitely
going
some-
two sports with that? Are you playing football and baseball?
I think you'd have to, right?
Yeah.
Kyler Murray, Nick Frazier's favorite.
Dude,
Russell Wilson.
I don't care what anybody says. Kyler Murray's having a year this year.
Not since Black Ops got released.
Hey. They're a playoff winning team right now. Okay, that's
was-
what they are.
You know, you talk about taking their talents. You take his study habits too.
Yeah, that is true.
What study habit?
Where they have to write into his contract that he has to spend 12 hours a week on
Well,
film or something
And
like
like
that.
the iPad vlogs his hours.
That's-
so
What
when
would
they
he-
go and check it.
What do you do? Like, what if he just like turns on the huddle and sits it in the chair and just plays the video on loop so it looks like he's doing something? He's actually playing Black Ops.
24 hours
Yeah.
of study time
So
over
Kyler-
like 2 days.
Kyler, what was up with you watching this bootleg play for like 6 hours?
Yeah.
Coach, I wanted to make sure the tackle on my backside blocked
Yeah,
while I
I
looped out. Yeah.
There was just so much intricacies on that one play that I really had to spend some time on that.
All right, we're gonna call it 6 times in the first
Okay,
drive.
yeah, perfect. Gunner on our text line,
My friend.
going wrestling for you, Connor.
Oh,
Triple H.
Good one.
it's all about the game.
He says one of the best ever, marries the boss's daughter and becomes the boss.
Hey,
You'll take it.
he did.
You'll take it.
Well done.
Anybody else with answers, you can text or call us 615-737-1025. We'd love to hear from you. We'll take another break. When we come back, we're getting into college football for the rest of the show. Final 45 minutes, all college football here on championship weekend. Going to talk about the big games today and the implications for the bracket, which will be released tomorrow. We will have all of our matchups. That is up next here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. 4's Company, 1025, 1063, The Game. Going to talk some college football. Do remind you that if you're looking for a great gift to someone for Christmas this season, well, you should check out some of the Nashville's best deals at thegamenashville.com/deals. Right now, you can purchase half off on gift cards for Princess Hot Chicken, Fat Bad and Brewing, Black Rabbit, and many more. Go check out thegamenashville.com/deals. Again, we are spending the rest of the show on college football. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Jake Wallman. It is Championship Saturday. Lots to sort out. Who's going to get the buys in the 12-team playoff? Who is going to get in to the 12-team playoff? I want to start with some of the teams not playing this weekend, and we'll get into some of the big games in the next segment. The committee has said, and Ward Manuel, I was just watching a clip on Twitter, Ward Manuel has just come out and confirmed that the teams not playing this week are not going to fluctuate with each other. There will be no changing of minds. If X team doesn't play this week and they are ranked one spot ahead of Y, they're not going to change. So we are not going to see Miami jump in front of Alabama. And that's where we'll start here. Alabama right now is in the driver's seat to get that final playoff spot as long as there are no upsets today. I think the only one that really could knock them out is if SMU lost to Clemson. Clemson would take the ACC's auto bid, and SMU would have at least a chance to stay in the playoff. I think they'd have to compare SMU to Alabama. How is Alabama above Miami?
They have a better resume.
In what way?
They have more top 25 wins.
The Oklahoma loss, I feel, should be disqualifying for Alabama.
Yeah.
They lost by 21. They put up 3 points on Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And they're a 3-loss team. I do not understand. Like, do I think Miami is a deserving playoff team? Probably not. But, man, they're 10-2, and both their losses are on the road against teams that turned out to be pretty decent.
Yeah.
Alabama put up 3 points against Oklahoma. And Vanderbilt, as much as Vanderbilt ended up being good this year, Vandy's still a 6-6 team that Alabama lost to. I do not understand the reasoning for putting Alabama up there. I get it. They beat Georgia. But is that enough to put them in the playoff as a 3-loss team?
And I don't think the Alabama team that beat Georgia is the same Alabama team that...
No. I agree with you.
And, I mean, to play off your point about the 3 losses, I think if you have 3 losses, unless you're in a conference like the ACC or the Big 12, where you're going to get one team in and that's it, 3 losses should disqualify you. I mean, that's an automatic.
That's Miami. Do I think that, yes, Miami should have just beaten Syracuse. They were up 21-0. Win that game and you're in. There's no worries. But Alabama, 2 years in a row, it does feel like the brand bias is sneaking in here and putting them into the playoff when they don't deserve to be.
I was agreeing with him. He's 100% right.
Brand bias?
This is obviously everything's a money-making thing, but with Alabama being a 3-loss team, and I get it, this past Tuesday night, the college football committee spokesperson mentioned that they are in the top 12 because of their top 25 resume. And Miami had an 0-2 record, or I think it was 0-1 or 0-2. And then you have, Alabama. Of course, there's more SEC quality. All those teams are in the top 25. You're going to have to say they have a better top 25 record. It's an easy cop-out.
Right. And, are we saying that Missouri is a super quality win with the way they played this year, but they're technically a top 25 team? I just don't get it. How it's 2 years in a row that I can't really see the logic in Alabama being the one team that gets in, but 2 years in a row they do. We'll get to this now because I think it plays off of it. Is the committee going to snub SMU if they lose to Clemson today?
100%.
Yes, but I don't think they should. I think we've mentioned this before. I don't think it's fair to punish a team for making their conference championship and losing.
And SMU also, their one loss came with Preston Stone as the starting quarterback. They've made a change since then. There is wording in the criteria that the committee is supposed to look at of how a team is constructed should affect, let's say the starting quarterback for X team was injured to start the year. They lost one game, but then they went undefeated as soon as he came back. That is allowed to be factored in
Yeah.
terms of who is going to make the playoff. I think SMU, this current iteration of the Ponies, has been clearly one of the best teams in college football. Yes, have they not been challenged as much as an SEC team? For sure, but they've won their games, and I think they deserve to be in.
Well, the committee mentioned, I think it was last month in one of the first rankings of the college football playoff, they would not punish a team that made their conference championship and losing.
Yeah.
So I think SMU does get in.
They should. So that would leave Alabama out in that scenario.
Tough scene.
The thing for me is if Indiana doesn't have this glorious of a season and say SMU does lose to Clemson, I think you see all three of those teams make it. I think you have SMU where Indiana is currently. If they were to lose today, they'd drop to what, 9? Is that where Indiana's at now?
Indiana's 10.
10. So they dropped to 10. Bama would stay then Bama would jump up to like 8, and then you'd have Clemson drop in at that last spot.
It's crazy. I'm interested to see if SMU does, because if SMU wins, there's really not a ton of drama for tomorrow. It's going to be obviously both Texas and Georgia get in, Oregon, Penn State get in, winner of Arizona State, Iowa State get in, SMU is in, Boise State is in, and then you've kind of already got your at-larges picked out at that point.
Yeah.
It would be Notre Dame, the loser of Big Ten and SEC, Ohio State, Tennessee, Indiana, Alabama. Like, that would be it.
Yeah.
But if SMU loses, the committee's going to have to show whether they have brand bias or not. And if they put in a 9-3 Alabama team with losses to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt over SMU, who went 11-2, their only losses to top 20 BYU and Clemson, I think that's pretty telling of what the committee is going to do moving forward.
I would be fired up about that.
It shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't,
but it could.
But it's going to.
I mentioned earlier that I'm going to go after Tennessee fans a little bit here. I don't want to be upset, but I'm just putting it out there. I saw people upset on Tuesday night, Vols fans upset that Ohio State was ranked ahead of Tennessee. I would love for someone to explain to me why they think Tennessee should be ranked above Ohio State.
I think the gripe is that the Michigan loss at home looks worse than the Arkansas loss on the road.
Fair. I could see that one is maybe slightly worse, but I don't think it's astronomically worse.
I mean, I don't think it's astronomically worse either.
But the committee has also, if you look at the committee's rankings, Ohio State's best win is Penn State. Tennessee's best win is Alabama. Penn State is ranked higher than Alabama.
Yeah, I was going to go there.
Ohio State's other loss is against the number 1 team, Oregon, on the road by 1 point. Tennessee's other loss is Georgia by 14.
Yeah.
I don't see any logical way that you could put Tennessee above Ohio State because those are the 3 most important data points. Their 2 losses and their best win. Ohio State is definitely better in 2 of them, and it's hazy for the third one, which is the Arkansas loss versus the Michigan loss.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's the only thing that I can say that, you ask where Tennessee should fall.
It is disappointing for Tennessee fans because the 2 bid stealers are going to make Tennessee go on the road.
Right.
Because Miami lost and so SMU is going to jump them, and now Arizona State jumps them, and Boise State, or one of the 3 would be the 12 seed, obviously. But it is disappointing for Tennessee fans because they're going to be ranked
probably
7th.
Oh yeah, 7th,
but be the 9 seed and
which
have to go on the
doesn't make
road.
sense to me.
I do not understand that. Just rank them 1 to 12.
Right. That doesn't make sense. Like, why does does one ranking affect where we're at in the polls?
I don't get. Well, Penn State's the number 3 ranked team, but they hold the 6th seed. I don't understand.
Yeah,
that.
no, it is strange that they made the buys automatically go to the conference champions. Because I
think they should just rank them that way.
There is a legitimate chance if SMU loses that we're going to have 3 teams get in. I guess Boise State's 10, so Boise State technically would have gotten an at-large bid either way.
Right.
But you're going to have the maybe number 10 team get a bye, the number 15 team get a bye, and the number 16 team get into the playoff. Like it's it is a little bit strange. I wonder if maybe that's something when they do expand to 14 that they just get rid of and they just rank them straight across. Sure, we can have 5 auto bids for conference champions, but if you are ranked 20th in the country and you win your conference and you get in, you're going to be seated last no matter what.
I'll commend Josh Heupel for this. A lot of coaches are out there right now kind of doing the politics thing about, this is why we should be in, over this team and this team. He was asked about it in his press conference earlier this week. And basically he said, just tell us where we can go play and we'll go play.
Yeah.
So, I would much rather have my coach, have that type of attitude, like we're going to go play in a Walmart parking lot and
then be complaining about that kind of stuff. I agree with that.
So,
we'll see. I think that's if it ends up happening that way, I think there is a scenario where maybe Penn State, if they lost big tonight against Oregon, could fall behind Ohio State because Ohio State does have the head-to-head. So I think there is a scenario where Tennessee ends up going to Happy Valley. But I think either way, if Tennessee is that 9 seed, that matchup with Ohio State, Penn State, whoever it is, that is the premier matchup of the first round.
Yeah.
Because the other ones you're going to get, it's probably going to be Notre Dame against Arizona State, Iowa State.
Roughly.
Which I think Notre Dame, that one shouldn't be all that
race.
close. It'll probably be Penn State or Ohio State against Alabama. That one could be really good too. Those are probably your top 2. And then what would the third one be?
Indiana
and who am I missing?
Georgia?
Yeah, the loser of the SEC.
Yeah.
So lots of good games. I think the best 2 are going to be Ohio State, Penn State versus either Alabama or Tennessee. I think you're going to get an iteration of those 2 matchups depending on what happens today.
Right.
So lots of fun to get to. We're going to talk about these 4 conference championship games coming up next.
I got one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we might get onto us a tease a little bit. There's a 3-loss team to me that is, I think, getting a bad rap for not getting any conversation of being in the top 12.
Let's get to that next.
So a little bit of both. So just want to put that out there.
We got plenty of time. We got the final 30 minutes. We're talking all college football here on 4's Company. We'll be right back here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Final half hour, 4's company on this Saturday morning. Hope you're having a great start to your weekend out there. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newton, Jake Wallman with you, leading into Iowa State and Arizona State in the Big 12 championship coming up right after us here on the game. We're talking college football. We'll preview some of those conference championship games, but Nick Frazier made a good point. We talked about Alabama and Miami a lot in the last segment and comparing their resumes. But two other teams that, if you're looking at 3-loss SEC teams that maybe should have been considered, Ole Miss and South Carolina, they apparently weren't even all that close because Miami was slid between them. But both, I think, had arguments to be better than Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, South Carolina, I get the head-to-head thing because they lost to Bama. What was
and
that?
Ole Miss.
And Ole Miss. I get that. But, like, as for Ole Miss, you look at the resume, yes, they lost to Kentucky 20-17 at home. And you lose to Florida 24-17. Both of those are one-possession games. And let's not forget the LSU game, the overtime loss. So all that's one-possession games. But if you go back and look, and you have your game against Oklahoma, you beat Oklahoma 26-14. And you mentioned Alabama. That loss should disqualify them. Just
24-3.
Yeah. So you have that game. And then on top of that, Ole Miss beats Georgia 28-10. And that's what? 41-34, Alabama beat Georgia.
Yeah.
So like that's a bit of a close game, but you beat them by 18 points.
It feels like the committee is saying that the Kentucky loss was disqualifying and the Oklahoma loss wasn't. Like,
yes.
And that's
that
what I
blows my
don't
mind.
understand. Like, yes, was Kentucky worse than Oklahoma this year? For sure. And it happened at home. But Ole Miss was one play away from winning that game. Alabama didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah. Never thought I'd hear the day where we have Nick Frazier clinging the cowbells
Listen,
for Ole Miss.
It hurts, but at
Ring,
the same
ring,
time,
ring, ring.
you got to give the guy some flowers. Like I get Lane Train is always saying, well, what can we do? Like playing the old poor pitiful me thing. But I mean, he's kind of right. And I think the committee looks at this LSU game now that I'm looking at the results of it. LSU at the time was ranked 13th and they beat Ole Miss and it was an overtime game. You go look at the Alabama game. They're down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Alabama just boat races them.
Yeah.
And they're, I think, ranked 15th is what I was saying. Yeah, they're ranked 15th. So, like, if the committee's going to look at it that way of saying Alabama has more like top 25 wins and that's a quality win, that's not a quality win. LSU is a terrible team that they put in the top 25.
Yeah. I think the committee wants SMU to lose tonight probably so they can just leave all of them out. But I don't see how Alabama is the number one team there. I think I get it with South Carolina. You lose to both the other teams. You're head-to-head. You're probably not going to get in. But Ole Miss, they were a play or two away from being 11-1.
Yeah.
And I get, you can't use hypotheticals that much. But, like, Ole Miss was in every game they played. Alabama losing that game to Oklahoma, I still think it should have been disqualifying with 3 losses. Like, if you have a loss where you were not competitive against they went 6-6?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're not competitive against the 6-6 team. You are not a playoff team. Ole Miss, at the very least, was competitive in every single game that they played.
Yeah. They're in it. I don't know. I mean, I just don't understand. Alabama's getting in. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now.
They're getting in as long as Clemson doesn't, or as long as Clemson doesn't win tonight.
I mean, they're in regardless, because it's SMU the one they're trying to get rid of.
Well, no, if
Just
SMU loses, I still, until they show me that they are completely corrupt and just putting Alabama in no matter what tomorrow, I still believe SMU gets in even with a loss tonight. That is, unless it's like 42-3.
Right.
Then I think maybe there could be a conversation. But I still believe that SMU is in either way. If they put Alabama, like let's say SMU loses to Clemson by 3 or something tonight, and they put Alabama in over SMU, then this committee needs to be abolished.
Yes.
That would be just like last year was bad. Florida State should have been in.
Yeah.
It was bad. This would be inexcusable to put in this Alabama team and that resume over SMU just because they had to play a conference championship game and Alabama didn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's the politics of college football, unfortunately. It's all money driven. We say this all the time, Nick Frazier.
Yeah.
Everything is money driven. But
Everything has a green dollar to it.
And like I agree, Do I think Penn State, Alabama would be a better game than Penn State, SMU? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're not looking for the best games. We are looking for the most deserving teams. The teams with the best resumes should get in. That's why I hated last year everybody saying, well, Florida State would get blown out. They won every game. They won all of their games. We don't care about hypothetical results. We care about the actual results on the field. Florida State went 13-0 and won their conference. They should have been in instead of Alabama just because the spread was a little bit closer against Michigan than it was with Florida State. Like, we should not be making these decisions based on hypothetical Vegas lines. Make them off of what the results were on the actual football field.
And isn't that the point of expanding your playoff to 12 teams?
Right.
So that the most deserving team gets in and we don't have to deal with this 4-team politics. I feel like it's going to be the same thing.
Like, if I'm a committee member, and you're trying to basically, if you got your 12 teams that are going to make the playoff, don't seed them off of, well, this team should be, if they're a 12 seed, they need to be playing against a 7 or whatever it may be, or a 10 versus 7. No, like you're saying, you need the best quality teams. Like for me, I'm looking at the bracket right now. I want to see Indiana play Tennessee in Knoxville. One, because I mentioned that a couple weeks back, and two, that'd be a great game to watch. I feel like
one, because I want to be right.
Yes, I want to be right. Two, you also got like a Penn State game. This bracket shows Arizona State. I don't want to see. I'd like to see Penn State, Alabama. Like that, I would see for a first round team. And as for Notre Dame, have them go up against Georgia. Let's see if Notre Dame's actually legit. Like those are the first round matchups everybody wants to see. I don't want to see Alabama versus Georgia or a rematch of Tennessee versus Georgia.
Yeah,
I don't want to see that.
No, I agree with that.
I think about I watched a video earlier this week of Mike Leach from 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
They asked about his opinion on the college football playoff, and he mentioned something that I think really rings true with this committee.
Expand to 64.
Well, not only that, but you need college football people that understand this game outside of the realm of just being fans.
Yeah.
On a committee like this.
Yeah, get Paul on there. Paul Feinbaum.
Call Paul.
But I mean,
he'll make sense of it all.
Like, I mean, it just feels like everybody kind of makes up rules as they go, and then they, maybe not hold those rules accountable, because I'm like, we've seen in the past, like the whole head-to-head thing not really coming into play on the Sunday before, when the bracket comes out and stuff. And that's what makes me mad, is that there's no consistency with this committee. That it feels like they're just putting teams wherever because they feel like they should go at number 7 or what. I mean, just like there's a lot of why to the answers that they present.
Yeah, I saw a meme on Twitter like 3 or 4 days ago. It was like 15 years ago, number 3 team in the BCS rankings. It's like 11-1 team, and they're like, oh, well, we didn't win all of our games, so I guess we'll just have to go play in the Sugar Bowl. We're very honored to play in this BCS Bowl. And now it's like 15 years later, 9-3 SEC teams. Well, we are hypothetically only a 6.5-point underdog in our first round matchup instead of an 8.5-point underdog that the ACC team would be. So therefore, we should get in over this 11-2 ACC team. It's crazy.
What I'm hearing is Jake Lyman wants to be on this committee.
It does sound like that.
He
Put me
wants
on. I think I would be fair and impartial. I think I could put together a good ranking. But
at number 1, the Virginia Tech Hokies.
See, if you look at the hypothetical,
everyone else figure it out.
If you look at the hypothetical results with the Hokies, that Miami game, I mean, who knows what the Hokies would have done from there on out if they had been given the win in that game. So therefore, I think you have to take away all of the results from the rest of the season and only look at that game. And I think Virginia Tech is in
that specific game.
Yep.
Imagine if Mississippi State had really good players and like they ended up going undefeated. They should be in the playoffs.
And hypothetically,
only reason they're not in is because that viral video came out of someone
decommitting during the game. Yeah.
Right.
I think
that's the only reason they're not in. And I mean, Kentucky,
Kentucky's a defending 9-time national championship team.
Coach Snoop.
The committee just refuses to acknowledge that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Are we calling on Chase McCabe to put us on the committee right now?
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has the power to do that, but
he can pull some strings.
Let's call Michigan's AD. I think he'll let us in.
I have some choice words for that guy.
They need somebody better at talking to the media because he is awful at it.
Get Rankarth on to do it.
Yeah.
I think he'll be great.
Ward Manuel, every time he gets in front of the mic, I'm like, maybe he'll have some good answers for why they made these decisions. I'm like, if you're making these rankings, you have to be able to back them up. And all of his explanations are just stupid.
I don't know. Did it because felt right.
Yeah, he's just like, well, I mean, the eye test.
The eye test.
Listen, I got
The litmus paper test.
I don't know.
I got 4
or is that word
eyes.
too big for him?
Maybe.
Let's hope they don't mess up these rankings tomorrow. Again, it's all pretty much set in stone. There might be a seed or two here that changes because of the games today. But for the most part, we know what it's going to be. The only decision in terms of who's in and who's out that would have to be made is if SMU loses, the committee would have to choose between SMU and Alabama. Let's hope they make the right choice. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Let's hope the Ponies get it done against Clemson today.
I'll be wearing my cowboy hat.
There you go.
There we go, baby.
There you go. We're going to pick those games coming up next. Arizona State, Iowa State, Oregon, Penn State, Texas, Georgia, SMU, Clemson. We will give our picks coming up next to wrap up the show here on 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Final segment on this Saturday, 4's Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newton, Jake Wallman. We're sending you right into the Big 12 championship. Arizona State, Iowa State for a spot in the college football playoff right after us here on The Game. We're going to pick that game along with the other 3 Power 4 conference championships. We already had a couple of conference championships last night. Army beating Tulane to win the American, their first conference championship in school history. Congratulations to the Army Black Knights.
And thank you for your service.
Yes, of course.
That's another team that I know we didn't get to talk about today. I feel for the Black Knights.
If they had beat Notre Dame, they'd be in.
Yeah, that was the death. That was the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, they had one opportunity to prove that they were a legit team.
And got smoked.
Yeah, they got crushed. Boise State also beating UNLV on the blue field out in Boise last night. Ashton Genty with, 200 yards rushing again?
Yeah,
209.
Heisman race is going to be close. All the betting odds say Travis Hunter's going to win it.
I think he still will.
I think he does. But as the signs have said around College Game Day, snaps are not stats. So
thank you, Oregon Duck.
Maybe we will see Ashton Genty make a late charge to possibly win the Heisman. It's going to be one of those two. And Genty, most likely in a second-round playoff game, will pass Barry Sanders.
I'm just happy it's not a quarterback this year.
Yeah.
Right. Dylan Gabriel is probably the closest quarterback, and he's not in the same realm as Hunter and Genty.
First one in 5 years. 4 years.
Since
think
Devontae Smith.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Devontae Smith.
since the last time, since Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Ashton Genty. You've won the Lenny.
Yes.
Don't worry.
You are the Lenny.
Yeah,
champ.
we said at the beginning of the year that we were going to do this whole in-depth thing with finalists. Like, it doesn't matter. The Lenny it's Ashton Genty's.
We awarded it
next year.
Yes, we awarded it like a month ago.
We can do one for basketball.
Yes.
The Lenny.
Yeah, that's true. We could do.
Why are you looking at me like
mid-major-
I thought you had like a different name for like a different.
I don't know.
award
I'll come
because
up
of
with
basketball.
mid-major
Okay.
player of the year.
We could do the Jimmy for basketball.
Yeah,
The Jimmy.
Yeah, the Jimmy.
we'll work on it. We'll workshop it. We got 4 conference championships today. Lots on the line. Big 12 championship, which is, again, starting on the station in about 10 minutes. Arizona State, Iowa State. Winner will get a
Look at those
spot in the college
helmets.
football playoff.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. The
Cyclones.
Cyclones
Love that.
script. I like it.
I like their colors. They got good colors.
They do. And Iowa State kind of coming out of nowhere. It looked like for a few weeks it was going to be some combination of Colorado, BYU, Arizona State in that Big 12 championship. Iowa State storming back, and they got their first 10-win season in program history. Later on today, Texas and Georgia at 3. That is not a winner-go-home game for either of those teams. Both are going to be in either way, but for a bye in the college football playoff. Same with Oregon, Penn State. Both those teams are going to be in. You can listen to that game over on 94.9 The Fan with coverage starting at 6:45, as the winner of that game will likely get the number 1 seed, I would say. Maybe Texas could get that if Oregon was to lose, but a lot on the line there. And then probably the most important game, SMU-Clemson. Clemson backing into the ACC championship thanks to Miami's loss last week. They can get into the playoff with a win. SMU obviously would get into the playoff with a victory as well. Could get in with a loss. Let's make some picks here. Let's start with the game coming up right after us. Arizona State, Iowa State. Arizona State, Iowa State, Cyclones and Sun Devils. Who is getting the spot in the playoff from the Big 12?
I gotta go Sun Devils. I like Kenny Dillingham. I think he's a great coach. I think he's an even better person. I like the program he's built. I like their offense. And who's not pulling for the underdog here? Both teams kind of came out of nowhere, but
Yeah.
the Sun Devils especially. If you would have asked me at the beginning of the season who's coming out of the Big 12, Sun Devils probably would have been like 5th or 6th on my list.
Yeah, weren't they like a
If that.
preseason, like 2-win team?
Let me look up the Big
Yes.
12 preseason.
They were a very low-rated team.
They got
coming
one
in.
loss.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
it's a good ball club.
Give me the Sun Devils, man.
Wow. I'm tempted to go the other way, but you make a good case here, Connor. I'm following suit with you. Arizona State. I mean, solid ball club. I mean, their little hiccup with BYU that's out the way, but good for them. It's well deserving.
Good for them. Pat Tillman is smiling down on that program.
Yeah, Arizona State went 3-9 last year, and they were picked last in the Big 12.
Wow.
16th out of 16.
What a story.
Huge. And I'm going with Dillingham too. Give me the Sun Devils going to the college football playoff. Yeah, are they probably going to get blown out by, Penn State, Notre Dame, whoever they play in the first round? Sure.
But they got there.
But they're going to get a win. And also, don't forget, if Arizona State wins and Clemson wins, Arizona State could get a bye.
Can you imagine?
There's a chance that they would slide Clemson ahead of them, but I doubt it. I bet winner of this game with an SMU loss, I think gets a bye and gets the 4 seed in the playoff.
That'd be so cool.
So they'd lose to the same team just a couple of weeks later, or 1 week later. But anyway, Jake Wallman, Sun Devils or Cyclones?
I really, really, really like Kenny Dillingham as a coach. I also really like Cam Scatterbo, the leading back in the Sun Devil backfield. Give me the Sun Devils.
All right.
Look at that. Clean sweep
Clean
for Kenny.
sweep for ASU, which means the Cyclones, congratulations on your Big 12 championship. In the SEC, coming up from Atlanta later today, Texas and Georgia, rematch of earlier this year where Georgia kind of took it to the Longhorns. Who gets it done today?
Like you said, Georgia kind of took it to the Longhorns. It's tough to beat a team twice in college football.
It is.
I think that proves true once again today. I think the Texas Longhorns get this one done and walk home as the SEC champions in their first year.
I'm leaning the other way. I think after that Georgia Tech game, those 8 overtimes, I think Georgia's ready to go today. There's something about this ball club when their backs are against the wall, they're going to get it done. I think it's going to be more of a 38-34 type game.
High scoring.
Yep.
Hook 'em. Give me the horns.
Yeah.
I got a good buddy from high school that's a big Texas fan.
Yeah.
And all he has talked about this year is how we have said that Texas wouldn't be ready for the SEC. And it's kind of gotten old. And I really, 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 really want this game to end in a tie and the fans burn the stadium down. But I know that's not possible. So I have been waiting for Georgia to slip up. I just feel like that they're not as good as they have been in the past. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em, baby.
All right. 3-1
Underrated
on
fight song, by
Texas
the way.
there.
Yeah, it is.
Underrated fight song.
In Indianapolis, Oregon, Penn State. Do the Ducks complete the undefeated season into the playoff?
Yeah, they do. I love the Oregon Ducks. I love the duck. I love the uniforms. I love the colors. I love everything about them. But more importantly, I love how that team is run. I love Landanning. I think he's a motivator, and I think he's a hell of a coach. I love Will Stein, the offensive coordinator, who apparently Jared is friends with.
Really?
Yeah, interesting.
Who I am politicking for to come resurrect the Kentucky Wildcats football program. But as of today, I think James Franklin's. I think he chokes in a big game. I think the Oregon Ducks also walk away with their first conference title in a new conference.
Yeah, I want to pick Oregon. No, excuse me. I want to pick Penn State, but Oregon seems to be the heavy hitters here. No, I'm doing it. Penn State. I think Penn State wins.
Whoa!
Turns heel.
Yeah.
Whoa!
I think James Franklin kind of, slows the pace of the game down, makes sure that Dan Lanning offense doesn't really, catch fire, get a rhythm. And I think Penn State gets it done.
Wow.
They're just letting anyone guest pick on game day.
Who
now,
is
aren't
this
they?
guy, by the way?
Timothy
Chalamet.
Chalamet?
You ever seen Dune?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
He's
Some
he's
Max or
pretty
whatever.
famous.
Like, what's his deal? What's his ties here?
I don't think he
we
has
don't
any.
know. He was actually in Nashville yesterday. I saw on social media. He gave an anchor down. I think he was over at Vandy.
How about that?
Yeah, he's moderately famous.
Yeah, I just don't get what
Nah.
the tie is.
Dune is his big one. What else is he in?
He was in the Willy Wonka movie.
Yes, he was Willy Wonka in the Willy Wonka prequel.
Oh, I didn't see that.
He also is doing a Bob Dylan movie that comes out
I saw the preview for
soon.
that last night.
He's Bob Dylan. I don't know.
He's just everybody.
Yeah, he's kind of like one of the up and coming big actors. Like, I'm trying to think of anything else he's in. He's hosted SNL a couple of times.
He hosted. Did you ever see the SNL skit where it's him and Pete Davidson?
Yeah,
as
and
rappers?
I've not watched SNL in like at least 10 years.
Yeah,
back on it.
I don't
Funny.
get why he was the choice for today though.
I bet
wearing
Lee Corso
the
is
big
like so confused.
pink jacket. Anyway, I am going to go with the Ducks. I think Oregon gets it done. Penn State, I'm not going to pick them to win. a big top 5 matchup until I see them do it once.
Yep.
So we're going with Oregon.
Yeah.
Also
James
not
Franklin's
great
first
bets
big
on.
win will be his first, and that win's not coming today.
Wow, Nick
Well.
Frazier out on an island again.
I'm okay with that.
The island of relevancy, as they call it.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I'm just taking a chance on these two just because. Well, not a chance on Georgia. I'm taking a chance on Penn State for sure, just because it's Penn State and my
Who may offer Coach Newt today? I don't know.
I do like
Oh.
Tyler Warren though. That would be a good pick.
I don't
for the
know if I should
Titans.
take that though. I don't know if I can leave the Cats.
Yeah, I thought about leaving Ohio State, but that's a story for another time. We got one more to pick. SMU Clemson. This one probably the most important in terms of playoff seeding.
Look at Frazier getting ready.
I'm ready for this. I've been waiting since the preseason.
We're gonna let Nick Frazier go last year. Connor Newt,
Thank
why
you.
don't you lead us off?
This is the toughest one. I love the Ponies. I love what they stand for. They're a great team, but I think Dabo plays spoiler today.
Don't break my heart.
Wow,
I'm sorry.
Connor going Clemson. Jake Wallman.
I saw that the Pony's on the travel roster.
Yes.
He
I
did.
saw-
I did see that.
He
yeah.
did-
Peta-
he
Peta
did make
was
the
not
trip.
happy about it.
No.
Whatever Peter. I don't care what Peter says. Anyways, give me the Ponies.
All right. One on the Ponies, one on the Tigers. I'm with you, Connor. I think Dabo gets it done. He's been there before. I think the Tigers win and make the playoff. Nick Frazier,
You guys are disgusting.
let it rip.
Unbelievable. I picked this team preseason to win the ACC, regular season, and conference. Look at them now. They're in the full glory of it all. I'm not naming them champions, but you know what? With Kevin Jennings at the helm, he took over, I believe it was a week 1 injury, came in week 2, and he hasn't looked back since. This guy, I'm telling you, is probably one of the more underrated quarterbacks across all of the United States of America. And their wide receivers are fast and pacey, and I think they can outplay the Clemson Tigers.
Dr. Crane's Ponies. Hoping to
Headgear
make it to
pick.
the playoff.
Let's go, baby.
That'll do it for us. Big day of college football coming up throughout the day. Iowa State, Arizona State is next. That's us. That's it for us on 4's Company here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
See ya.